Whoops. Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. Thought it seemed like my cards were messed up, so anyway, I'm gonna do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy. We're gonna do this 10-card spread, and we're gonna read it from a couple different perspectives because I assume life's about learning lessons. We all have our more shadowy nature, our pride, our ego, our fear, our insecurity, our self-indulgent nature, our lust, our greed, our self-centered nature. And hopefully some people have tempered their egoic nature and they learned that, with time that they're not proud of themselves acting that way. And so they decided, I reject that nature within myself, and I'm going to grow up and heal and mature myself to be proud of myself. Some other people in the world might have realized that, oh, people don't like it when I act that way. I just won't act that way in front of them. And I'll keep it hidden beneath the surface, but they're really still more immature, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, lustful, greedy, self-indulgent, or whatever. And we're all somewhere on the spectrum of kind of having learned some of those lessons. And sometimes we kind of get in some more mismatched relationships. Another thing in Aquarius energy, we have free will. And some people in their free will, they are more about themselves or things they like to indulge in to make them happy, or making their life more about money and materialism and status and image. And they might not look at life from any other perspective, a higher perspective in high vibe Aquarius. I don't think there is any higher truth or justice. The world says we should make our life about these things. We'll be happy. That's what I'm going to do. And other people, we can all get caught up in the world and the things of the world that we want to manifest, and those things are important. But high vibe people are more balanced. It's like, yes, I want some of those things of the world, but I'm not willing to sacrifice being authentic, living my authentic life, believing in myself, believing in my dreams, giving up love for those things, and other people are. It's a choice. Other people want a more balanced life. So I view this as the overarching reason for the reading. The Ten of Pentacles, which is kind of Virgo energy and the foundation that we operate from. Our own Virgo energy within ourselves is about what our truth is. And we have to accept the truth with the Judgment card that some people's truth is, underneath the Judgment card is the Emperor, which is fire sign energy, which is about kind of what drives and motivates us. Some people, they've decided it is all about them, or it's all about these things of the world they indulge in, or all about the status, the ego, and the image. They want to look like a boss in the world, male or female. And that's their truth, and we have to accept it. Virgo energy is about what their truth is. Other people call judgment on their more worldly nature. In high vibe, the Emperor is about learning lessons in life. Virgo in high vibe is about learning lessons. I'm going to call judgment on my more worldly nature. I might end up with all these things of the world. I might make it all about me. But that's not the end-all be-all. I want to feel proud of myself, and I do want to grow and mature myself to my full potential and be proud of myself. Grow and mature myself is what Virgo energy and high vibe talks about. And I want a balance of both. And that means I have to be willing to get out of my more worldly egoic nature and harnessing these in a more shadowy way and grow up and make good decisions in my life. If I'm going to be in relationships with people, and the Ten of Pentacles can be a long-term foundation, I have to take other people into consideration. It can't just be my way or the highway. So that's how different people, and everybody's going to make their decision, and what makes up this Ten of Pentacles? What are the things I enjoy doing? What are the things you enjoy doing? What do I find emotionally fulfilling? What do you find emotionally fulfilling? How do you view your dream life? How do I view my dream life? And it's trying to find this balance with people, and it's trying to find, when we kind of have a lot of these things maybe in common. We might have some things that are not in common, but that kind of inspires us to stretch and grow and mature ourselves, right? I mean, we probably wouldn't want to necessarily be in a relationship where everything is the same, because then maybe it could seem kind of boring, right? At the center of the reading, we also have the Nine of Pentacles, which is also Virgo energy. Everybody can like to belong to a group. Friendship groups, relationships, work groups. We all like to belong, right? Well, we start out with the Page of Swords in reverse. That can be where we reject our more hopeful, believing, loving nature or our more authentic nature in order to belong to a group. And we all could have done that in our life at different times, right? I am not willing to call judgment on a foundation that I might belong to. High vibe, Nine of Pentacles is being more independent, and some people aren't more independent. A Page of Swords in reverse can be people that are very codependent. I might like to become independent of a friendship group, a way of living life, my original family, my friend group, or something, because maybe it's really not my truth. But I could have fear about standing up for myself and being more independent. And some people, that's what they're doing right now. They're fearful of being more independent. They are more codependent. Some people could get in relationships with the Six of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. Some people can get exchange resources, what the Six of Pentacles can talk about. They could exchange resources with other people in the Queen of Pentacles, more out of fear of being single. I don't want to be single. Or I'm afraid of being more independent. And if I was more independent, and maybe if I stood up for myself, maybe those people wouldn't like that. And maybe they wouldn't want to be my friend or be in a relationship with me anymore. And then we have the Three of Wands, which can be, I have a dream. I want to exchange resources with people. But it's kind of like, what are we willing to, what drives and motivates us ultimately? And what are we willing to stand up for and what are we not willing to stand up for? Some people harness this energy in a very shadowy way, which can be bossy and controlling. I want to be in a relationship with people. They probably don't want to be single either. They want to belong to a group. But then they can be bossy and controlling in a relationship. They could exchange resources with people, but maybe they're not very authentic. But they still want to be in a relationship with people. They get in relationships with people. They kind of create the illusion, probably, that they're more independent and less codependent and probably less bossy and controlling or more about themselves or more about the ego or the image, so that those people will keep moving forward with them in a relationship in the Six of Swords of Aquarius energy. You should work here. You should be my friend. You should date me. You should marry me. Your dreams will come into reality with me. And partly the reason why some people want to be in a relationship is because they just feel left out in the cold. Well, we can all get in friendships and relationships when we are more codependent. We want to have community. We do feel left out in the cold. But it's one thing to still know, high vibe Virgo, know your worth and value, still kind of maintaining balance within yourself, to be in high vibe energy where you kind of have hope and faith. That's like high vibe Aquarius, moving forward in truth and love. I've had some things that didn't work out the way I wanted. You maybe had some things that didn't work out the way you wanted. We could both be not, we could be independent of some other foundation that we thought a dream was going to come into reality from, friendship group, relationship, whatever. and I want to move forward with some people. Well, it's one thing to kind of be truthful and authentic and be loving and nurturing, and we see how things go. And as we get to know people, the Five of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles in Taurus energy can talk about people's different philosophies of life, what they think is just and fair in a relationship. Are they more bossy and controlling? Are they more about themselves? Are they more for the ego and the image or the status? Or have they emotionally grown and matured themselves? And are they really ready to become? The Five of Pentacles can be detaching from an old foundation and really ready to move forward in something new. Or I'm really not ready to move forward in something new, but instead of dealing with the truth of it, I might just want to feel better by getting in another relationship. But I still am maybe more emotionally invested in something in my past. So then it's kind of creating the illusion that I'm willing to move forward and bring a dream into reality, but not really. Or I just want to be in a relationship to feel better. You know, well, in shadow, you could see where Aries energy of the Emperor, which anybody can harness that, male, female, doesn't matter what zodiac sign they are. When I kind of mention these zodiac signs, which I to a degree I don't like saying the zodiac signs because people get caught up in the zodiac signs. Like, oh, that person's this sign, that sign, I should stay away from them. No, everybody harnesses these energies, but they harness them in a more high vibe, more worldly, or a more shadowy way. And we need to listen to our intuition about kind of who's who. Who are the people who are more bossy and controlling? Who seems to be the people who are pretty immature or who isn't speaking the truth? Who seems to have put an end to their more immature nature and has emotionally grown and matured themselves? Who seems more balanced within themselves? Who seems to have more self insight, more self awareness? Who seems to be inspired within themselves to believe in themselves, believe in their dreams, and become independent, kind of accept the truth that some of the things I invested in the past didn't work out the way I wanted, and we could have friendships or family members, and in the Queen of Pentacles we could be open if those people kind of got out of some shadowy or more immature or whatever ways of being that they were, if they kind of call judgment, hold themselves accountable, and kind of grow up and mature themselves, become independent of some poor behaviors, then we could be open emotionally to reconnecting with those people. But if we're going to get in a romantic relationship, you know, so long as that relationship is going well and people are being just and fair and loving and encouraging and supportive, and it's, you feel that way about them, then you keep moving forward with those people. Before we get to the Five of Pentacles, we would have had the Four of Pentacles. But if we add the one pentacle to the four, then we move forward in the Five of Pentacles. There's a foundation that at one time I was holding on to. But then when that didn't work out and I met some other people who are loving and encouraging and supportive, and they're acting with character and integrity, and so long as I think they're being truthful and honest and not being deceptive or manipulative or bossy or controlling, and I'm in it for the right reasons, well, then those are kind of missed opportunities. And I move forward with the people in my life who are working together with me to bring this dream into reality. And we can all kind of be sad that there might be some people that at one time we did want to be more in a friendship or relationship with. And maybe some of those people become single. And then they're like, hey, you want to reconnect? You want to be more in a friendship or relationship? And they're like, sorry, when that didn't work out, I met some other people and I moved on. And so long as those relationships are working, people will make that kind of the emperor, is about making decisions. This is executive decision that, high vibe Taurus, acting with character and integrity, and if the people in my life are acting with character and integrity, and this is aligned with my truth, I don't see, major problems in it, I'm going to keep moving forward with those people. For other people, say somebody's moving forward in something, and then some of the people you had moved away from, or people had moved away from you, you know, there's going to be different circumstances in our life when we weren't ready to move forward in life differently, and other people moved on ahead of us. And sometimes we were the one who moved forward, and other people weren't ready to move forward with us. If someone were to become single and we could be in a relationship, and as time has gone by in our friendship, relationship, or job, whatever it is, well, then we might really have to think about what our truth is, because we could have been single. Fire sign energy could mean we met someone, we liked them, they liked us, we were attracted to each other. Since those other opportunities weren't working out, we could have invested in a new foundation and we're moving forward in it. But does one person kind of feel left out in the cold in it? Like maybe it's not their truth. And when we're trying to move forward with people to bring a dream into reality, do we kind of have the same truth? Is someone kind of being bossy or controlling? Is it maybe more getting a little caught up in being in a relationship to be in a relationship? The money, the status, the image, the stability, security. We do want all those things, but maybe during the course of a relationship, maybe someone wants to be in a more formal commitment. The King and Queen of Pentacles is only married through the deck. Maybe one person idea of the dream relationship is, I do want a more formal commitment. And I am willing to take responsibility. I am willing to detach from the past, to commit to putting in work and effort. But of course, everybody's got to hold themselves accountable, and people have to treat, truth and love, which should be grounding that dream coming into reality. Love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated, and it's actually supposed to be motivated by love. Sometimes we can get in situations and we think we're on the same page, and then as time goes by, one person could be like, nope, I'm looking at still, I can enjoy the relationship, I want to move forward in the relationship, but I turn my back on investing in a more long-term relationship. Well, if both people are in agreement with that, and they think, I think this person is acting with character and integrity, I love them, they love me, it does seem to be just and fair, it can be about compromising. It might not, you might not be getting all the things you want, they might not be getting, relationships are about compromise. And, you know, and so long as everybody feels like you is going good, there's compromise. And if we think people aren't being immature and people aren't being kind of deceptive or manipulative, then, we keep moving forward in it. But if some people move forward and maybe some people could be more about you could feel like they're more about indulging themselves in a relationship. And the other person wants it to be more motivated by truth and love. And as the relationship goes by, and sometimes you can be in a relationship for a really long time, till you realize someone is more about it being about them, more about the money, the status, the image, or how it benefits them, even if they did marry, you know, but you still feel like their truth of why they want to keep moving forward in it isn't necessarily, the difference between the Nine of Pentacles and the Ten of Pentacles is that one pentacle. And in high vibe, the one pentacle is truth and love, because that's how you build a solid foundation. Otherwise, you're building a foundation for some other reason. It's like shifting sand. Well, this is good. I'm enjoying it as long as it kind of works for me, or it has these certain components to it, but it's not love. So therefore, if someone else comes along that maybe I would somehow benefit and it would have more of the components that I like, well, then I would maybe get out of this relationship because I'm not really more emotionally invested in it. And that can be where you feel in people's Aquarius energy of themselves that the driving factor for why they make the decisions that they make is more about how it benefits them, but not love. So I think if there's some people in relationships right now and they feel like someone isn't being authentic or truthful, that they've been exchanging resources with, and if one person does want things to move forward more in truth and love, and the other person's like, I'm kind of more about myself. I'd like to stay in the relationship. It works for me. It's good for my ego and my image, and I could like a lot of things about it, but you just feel like they're not really telling the truth of why. And maybe it feels like the dream keeps not coming into reality because they want to like stay here and keep moving forward that way. Like nothing changes. And the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords, which can be, you know, it can be like getting to know people, but again, it can take a long time to be in relationships with people to really get to know what ultimately kind of more drives and motivates them. There's a lot of things to work out in a relationship of, if we want to keep staying and keep moving forward in the relationship. But eventually we could get down to that core foundational truth that drives why they do what they do. And if some people feel like, I don't think my dream is going to come into reality with you. And I probably have been having a lot of mental conflict about it. And I could have been feeling left out in the cold. And I could have been trying to be loving and encouraging and supportive, trying to move this forward. But it seems like you maybe emotionally keep repeating a pattern. Like you keep, the other person emotionally could be like, no, let's keep doing this. And the other person's like, well, I'm trying to invest in it moving forward. And it's like, no, let's keep doing this. And that's when you kind of see that, there's some kind of conflict going on that, and the difference too, if this could kind of represent the Five of Swords, back here we have the One Sword. And the difference between the One Sword and the Five Swords is the Four of Swords, which is Libra energy about the scales of justice. So it can be that we have different ideas of what we think is just and fair in a relationship. Or it can talk about healing. And maybe some people have some issues that manipulate them that they weren't showing. And they can get in these relationships, and there could be a part of them that would like to move forward, but the truth sets us free, and it could be just working through some of the issues of our past. It could be a lack mentality. It could be having hope and faith and belief in yourself, in others, trusting other people, believing in love, making a more formal commitment to something. And until people work through these issues that they maybe weren't showing, that either how they feel about themselves, how they view life, how they view the world. Anyway, let's go see what they are. The Seven of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. So the Seven of Wands is Leo energy. Some people could be defensive. The Seven of Pentacles can talk about investing. I'm kind of defensive to investing in maybe having to take other people into consideration in my decision making. If I don't get in a more formal commitment, well, then, it's kind of like just seeing how things go. And, some people really could, maybe because of past experiences, um, if they would even want to do a more formal commitment, but the people have to work it out. And if one person, say some people want, one person maybe wants to get married to have a family, and the other person doesn't even know if they want to have a family. I don't even know if I want to invest in that. Well, and some people just want to feel like, well, if you feel like I'm the person, it can be a hard thing to debate. I guess I'm kind of a little bit more on the pro marriage side than not, but everybody's just got to work these things out and what they think. But some people, though, could be hiding that they're just more about themselves. Or, some people want to keep their options open. I would say definitely if they're more shadowy. Um, because shadowy energy would be, well, it's not really love. It's like to be in a relationship for, again, if I want to be more indulged and have it more about me, I'd rather be in a relationship with someone who isn't maybe as independent, maybe isn't as balanced within themselves, doesn't invest in themselves, doesn't maybe feel more stable and grounded within themselves, maybe isn't as emotionally mature, maybe lacks some hope and faith and belief in themselves, and maybe has a lack mentality. Because then they'll look at me as God in their life, or I kind of get to be more bossy and controlling of them because they haven't learned to stand up for themselves and invest in getting more balance within themselves and knowing their worth and value and believing in themselves and closing out an old chapter of their life of where they could have been more caught up in things of the world or been more defensive to loving and believing in themselves. And other people did some work within themselves, because that's what in high vibe, what Virgo energy talks about. I'm going to do work within myself because I don't like feeling defensive, and I don't like not kind of investing in me and feeling more balanced within me and growing and maturing myself and working through my mental conflict and my lack mentality. You know, when do we decide within ourself? For one, it could be, I want to get out of more codependent energy. And part of that is loving and believing in ourselves, because when we were young, we grew up in families, and we had people in our life who are maybe loving and encouraging and supportive. And we could have friends and family that were loving and encouraging and supportive. And then if we're going to move forward in life to go pursue our dreams, sometimes we got to leave all those things behind, and we could go through a period of feeling left out in the cold. But when am I going to take over that role within myself? I'm not a child anymore. I have to learn to stand up for myself and invest in kind of nurturing myself, standing up for myself, kind of like being a good mother, father, coach voice to myself, to learn how to maintain balance within myself. I can't always be looking to things outside of me and people outside of me to play that role in my life. I want to learn how to play that role in my own life and feel more stable and abundant within myself. And from the 6 to the 9, it's kind of letting go of this Three of Pentacles foundation to operate from a different Three of Pentacles foundation. And the 6 of Pentacles can talk about letting go of that foundation for this foundation. So as we kind of grow and heal and mature ourselves and become more independent, and we become more independent of our family and our friend group and the world at large, to believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams, to be inspired to invest in our truth and invest in us, and acknowledge that some people in our life we could have love for, but my dream is different than your dream, and how you want to move forward, and the people you want to invest your time, energy, and effort into, the things you want to go invest your time, energy, and effort to, that might be right for you, but that's maybe not my truth. And some people, for a long time, because they don't want to go through a period of feeling left out in the cold, especially if there's not anyone else around that does seem to enjoy the things that they maybe like, right? Well, then I'm going to hang out with some of these people where, and we can all be helpful to each other. Um, Part of coming together and meeting all these different people in our life is to help us get more clear about our truth. And for a long time, we can go through life, and it is just this process. The pentacles can be, too, that I'm learning these lessons, and as I've invested in different people, some of those people were more defensive to me, some of them I was kind of defensive. And I did kind of see the difference between people who maybe are more in a shadowy, egoic nature versus high vibe Leo, where they're more loving and nurturing and warm and giving, and I had to decide what type of person I was going to be, and who I was going to keep exchanging resources with, who I wasn't. Some of the people I became independent of, some of the people I kept being in friendships and relationships with, and then some people can stay in our life for longer in our life than some other people. We could have went to elementaries, junior high, high school, college, out of college, had a certain job, and then, just as time goes by and we're kind of people getting invested in different things and their own unique things, and, kind of people can kind of go their separate ways, right? And then we could have people in our life that we could have thought were maybe we'd worked with them for quite a long time. And we could have thought those people were maybe going to be in our life forever, and we were going to have a long term relationship with them more, whether it's friends or, we got along with our brothers, our sisters, our mom, our dad, all sorts of people. There's some people in our life that were more the people who seem to be more of a solid foundation in our life, and that we probably thought we were going to keep moving forward. Well, then sometimes in those relationships, you know, there can come a time even in those relationships when you've been in friendship or relationship with people for 5, 10, whatever years, that, there's always that thing about how do I want to move forward next? And again, people can come into our life, and we could have been loving and encouraging and supportive of them. They could have been loving and encouraging of us. But then, it's just that next phase of life that you kind of enter, and kind of how people think they want to move forward, and what their vision is for the next phase of their life, and what your vision is for the next phase of your life. And then it can kind of be different. And sometimes people could feel like, well, you do look at life differently, and you're kind of more motivated and inspired by some things that I'm not. And I'm kind of still ready to stay here at this phase of life. It's the same thing, like, say some people did get married. Well, now that should be the primary focus in their life. And some people didn't get married. Well, then they might go look for people who can hang out with them more and do some more of the things that they like to do being single. And the other people are like, everybody could wish some people well, and you could wish them well. Some people could be a little bit in their ego, you know. Um, some people could wish that they didn't invest in what they invest in, and they kind of, some of them could wish they could go with you, whether you're single or married, because you could have gotten married and then other people had to move on because they weren't, or you uh, moved to a different job, or you took a different job and they're still in the job or friendships with some of the people they were in. Doesn't necessarily have to be marriage. The Queen of Pentacles can be a lot of different things. jobs, friendships, relationships, and things that we enjoy emotionally investing our time, energy, and effort into. But I do think in high vibe Aquarius and our fire sign energy, that there could have been a lot of things we enjoyed doing in our life at some point in time. And there could still be a lot of those things and people that we enjoy. But kind of we do kind of end up looking at life differently, just like we looked at life differently at all those other stages of our life: junior high, high school, college, 18, 21, 25. And sometimes people do kind of get inspired to move forward a little differently because they're just kind of it's part of their journey, and everybody has their own dream. And again, how people view life, kind of what drives and motivates them. Some people's dream was never to maybe look at life from a higher perspective, which can be, so they, in their earth sign energy of themselves, could just be more aligned with making their life more aligned with the world in a way, which can be maybe I don't think there's a higher truth or purpose or a higher truth or justice to aspire to in the world. I just don't even believe in that. I'm kind of more, I think we live on the planet and the world kind of tells us this is, they can be a good, just, fair person who acts with character and integrity, but they just don't, life is what it is. And, you maybe get in your friendships or relationships or have your job. I just don't think there's any higher purpose really. And they could be loving and nurturing and supportive and help people. Um, but other people could be people, Aquarius energy. I read an article that it's like the least amount of people are born under the Aquarius sun sign. And so they can be very unique and different. And Aquarius also is humanitarian. And so, and they could look at life from a very different perspective. Some people are very intelligent, very smart, um, and they just look at life differently. And kind of the things that they could have enjoyed at one time, it's just kind of listening to their intuition. I just don't, it's not the primary focus. Do I still want to be loving and nurturing probably in those friendships and relationships? Yeah, but I'm kind of interested in, um, I don't know, seeing what else is out there. I just feel like, you know, being curious is like fire sign energy. And other people could be more defensive to that. And some people don't even want to believe that there's a higher truth and justice because they could like to think if there is no higher truth and justice, I can do whatever I want so long as by worldly standards or within themselves, they decide they think it's just and fair. And they don't think there is maybe any rules to this game of life. I think there are rules to this game of life. I just think they maybe haven't figured it out yet. And, because there's consequences for our decisions. But for a long time, again, some people think um, if I don't reveal the truth, or if other people aren't revealing the truth, or other people don't see the truth about me, I can still be kind of more immature, more about myself, defensive, prideful, egotistical, stubborn. Um, I just won't show people that's who I am. That shadowy energy. I will try to create an illusion that I am much more stable, grounded, mature, more independent of my ego nature, worldly nature, other people, my shadow nature. And then I want those people to invest in me and move forward with me because it looks like I'm a more stable, grounded, emotionally mature, just fair person than they probably really are. But then the people who kind of get in more involved relationships with them, as time goes by, those people can feel like a little left out in the cold, like it's lacking, because the people really aren't motivated and inspired in high vibe energy to really be more balanced in a relationship and within themselves and motivated by love. It can all look great. It can all, have a lot of, it has all those things of the world, but it's lacking in the other aspect. And the other people could be like, this is the end all be all. This is the most important thing. I want to be in the relationship for these reasons. You should stay in the relationship for these reasons. This is what's important. But you just feel like if it's not love, there's that Bible verse in First Corinthians that they read at weddings. I think it's First Corinthians. Something about if I have all these things in the world, but I don't have love, it's like this resounding gong. Love is what makes it all worthwhile. It's like being in a job that pays great and you could even enjoy the people, but there's no room for advancement. Well, do I want to keep staying in a job where I'm kind of not growing to my full potential and I feel like I could do more? But this job doesn't have that potential, but I might not want to leave it. There's a lot of things I like about it. But I feel like if I keep moving forward in it that way, I'm never going to kind of reach my full potential. And I feel like I do have more capability. This was part of, again, the 10 of Pentacles can talk about the end of a cycle, just like we were age 18 to 21. I lived it. I was there. I learned the lessons I was meant to learn. Now I want to go face my fears to be a 21-year-old. Who wants to come with? And some of the people are like, you want to do things different? No, let's just do this. And other people are like, I don't want to stay like an 18-year-old all my life, but some people do, as a analogy or whatever, right? And the truth is, everybody has the free will to live their life whatever way they want. And that's why some people in our life like, no, you go, girl, you go, boy. I'm going to stay here. And you say, you do it. Enjoy. You know, your dreams and what you enjoy. Like some people could live in a very small town. They're very happy living in a small town. Other people are like, oh my gosh, I can't live here. And then other people could really enjoy living in a big town. And other people are like, oh my God, I feel left out in the cold here. I need to go find a smaller town where I can feel like I get to know people more. And that's also what Taurus energy can talk about, which I view the Queen of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles as Taurus. And it can be a lot of different things. It can be religious belief systems. It can be ethnicity. But so long as people are willing to work with us, again, high vibe people aren't trying to manipulate or control people. It's just, can you have some hope and faith? And not everything we go try to pursue is going to work out the way we want, but we won't know if we don't try. And if it doesn't work out, we can reconvene and, maybe go back to where we were and rebuild on that base and then maybe go back out again, to try something a little different. And some people just don't ever want to step out of their comfort zone. I don't want to move. I don't want to look at life differently. Let's just keep doing this. And that's when you can have a problem in a relationship. So I think there's some people in their Aquarius energy that aren't telling the truth. They are more defensive of their more worldly nature, which can mean a lot of things. I want to be single. I like to exchange resources with people. I might like people to be like a parent to me in a relationship, maybe indulge me in my immature nature because they kind of defend their more worldly nature, which can also be about themselves. And then they could want other people to do that too. And they're looking for someone to have that type of relationship dynamic. And if they find someone who's like, hey, I like being in relationships with people like you, I like playing that role in people's life, well, then they found a match. And those people would probably keep moving forward in that kind of relationship. Other people like to play that role in people's life, but it's more for how it benefits them. So they can come across as and they could be stable, abundant, more emotionally mature than other people they get in a relationship with. Maybe a little less defensive. Uh, they could look like they're moving forward, like their dreams are coming into reality, and in a lot of ways they are. And then, but they like to get in relationship with people who, kind of like, I'm the parent, you're the child, I'm the boss, you're like the employee. But the problem in that kind of relationship, but the reason why you can get in a relationship with someone like that is because they seem, if you're someone who wants to grow and heal and mature yourself, have more stability and security within yourself, and you meet someone who seems to have that, you think, oh my goodness, I found someone who's less immature than some of the other people I've went out with, less defensive, less whatever. They seem like someone that's on the same page as you. And you can get along with them in a relationship for a really long time. But as you start to heal and grow and mature yourself, and then you could even think they're going to be proud of you because you did put away some of these more immature, defensive, or whatever, and you emotionally grew up and matured yourself some. Started to know your worth and value, started to, put yourself out there maybe a little bit more, shine your light a little bit, and they could have kind of been happy about some of that. But when it gets to be where you're kind of like, okay, now let's all move forward, that's when they're like, what? What happened? This whole dynamic has changed because then instead of being a more imbalanced relationship, it got more balanced. And then you're ready to kind of move forward in life differently. And that then requires them and the Five of Pentacles and the fives talk about change. They would have some things they need to become independent of in order to move forward. In order to move forward differently, we kind of have to detach from an old foundation where we kind of look at the good building blocks to take with and kind of see the truth of some things we need to let go of. And that's when those people could have a problem. It's like, well, I never thought we were going to move forward in life any differently. you know, I still want to do this. And then, people who you thought were going to be happy you healed and grew and matured yourself don't like it. And then that's hard, right? Some people might be at that stage in a relationship. And I think the people who are motivated in is more by love than it being about them or the ego or the image and how it benefits them, they probably offered truth and love for those people to move forward with them. But again, that could require that they look at life differently than they've looked at life, that they work through some of their mental conflict, that work through some of their defensiveness, their more worldly view of life, and become more balanced within themselves and know their worth and value and be willing to shine their light a little bit more and, you know, just be maybe more authentically themselves than in our more worldly egoic nature where we kind of hide a little bit more behind our ego instead of feeling more comfortable within ourselves to live our more authentic life and stand up for ourselves. And maybe they have people in their life that would like them moving forward in life differently. Well, you're kind of becoming more independent of us. I thought you were going to be in a relationship with those people, but I thought, we were going to still be the primary foundation. And now you seem to be moving forward differently. And in order for us to come with you, we'd have to do this work within ourselves. And we'd have to detach from some things. And then people could maybe kind of have some divided loyalty who are more the primary foundational people in my life. And sadly, for some people that married people, uh, it wasn't you. It was their friend group or their original family or their ego nature or their defensive nature or their immature nature that is the primary foundation in their life. And then I suppose sometimes we're really not, we could have gotten ourselves involved in something, a relationship of some sort, but we really hadn't worked through the mental conflict really of an old relationship. And then people could have a lot of mental conflict. Some people are going to let the people in their life move forward, or just because of these differences, you've changed, I've changed. I would like, we all like to hang out with people who kind of, to a degree, kind of view life the way we view life and kind of motivated and inspired by the same things that we're kind of motivated and inspired to invest. The Pentacles can talk about, what we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into. And for some people, it's always been a source of contention. And then we might get to that point where, and odds are probably when one person is kind of thinking, I kind of feel left out in the cold because the people I'm hanging out want to do this and I want to do that. Those people are probably feeling a little left out in the cold because they'd really rather go do this, but maybe they're having to do that. And eventually it can get to where people are like, I really kind of want to do more and invest my time more into what I enjoy and you enjoy that. And hopefully people could part amicably, just in love, that I accept that you. But I do think that's what the high vibe people do no matter what, because that's what love, the truth, is what sets you free. I accept that anybody in my life that I've ever dealt with, some of those people were more immature, some of those people were more materialistic, some of those people didn't want to get in more formal commitments, some of those people were more about themselves, some of them were bossy and controlling, some of them were players, some of them were egotistical, some of them were hurtful and unkind, some of them were deceptive and manipulative. I just accept that they are where they were at. And I think that they're going to go through their own experiences in life because of the type of person they are. They'll probably find people who are more on the same page as them or willing to indulge them in that way. And there's probably been more mature people needless in my life. And there's way more mature and bold, brave, confident people that didn't repeat some of the patterns I repeated. And they were very focused on their dreams and putting in the work and effort to accomplish those dreams. And while I was kind of dawdling around in the world. And so some people have moved on ahead. Some people I could view as good role models in my life. Some people I could view as bad role models. All of those people I learned lessons from. And I'm going to wish everybody peace and love. And the divine has a dream for me. And I believe that God knows ultimately what kind of really drives and motivates people, who I'm more on the same page with and who I'm not. That some of the relationships that didn't work out and it didn't reconcile the way I might have wanted it, me. um, I trust that the divine has a plan for my life and divine knows what everybody else is motivated and inspired by. So the people in my life who aren't more immature or more defensive and stubborn and work together with me in a more just and fair and balanced way, I'm going to keep moving forward with those people in my life. I'm going to offer love and encouragement to people in my life that I would like to have keep moving forward in my life. Some of the people who keep showing me that, nope, that's not my truth. Okay, I accept that. I'm going to keep moving on. And, because again, sometimes people kind of fall out of your life because, you're kind of on different pages of what kind of drives and motivates you and emotional maturity or behaviors. And the high vibe people are moving forward, communicating their truth to the people in their life, whether that means it's someone they had moved away from at some time and they realize the people they were moving forward. Because, when we go in life at any time, we have to make these decisions, right? And we could go this way, and then it's like, oops, nope. We got to be willing to get out of our ego and say, wait, no, you got to go on ahead of me. I got to regroup here. I don't think that was the right path for me. I maybe wasn't seeing the truth. Maybe I got caught up in something and maybe wasn't listening to myself or my truth or didn't know my worth and value, whatever. At any point in time, I might need to regroup. So I think high vibe people have already offered their truth to people. They're moving forward. Then the people they could have communicated their truth to, those people might keep repeating a pattern as they see other people moving forward. Then it's up for them to decide, is what they're moving forward aligned with their truth or is it not? They either move forward with them or they don't. They take this time to regroup and then they move forward in their truth, which might be to communicate with some people who moved on ahead of them. And then those people will have to decide, sorry, I've already moved on. Or, the whole thing is if we kind of don't work through those things and aren't open, kind of get out of our defensiveness, try to see things maybe from other people's perspective, um, we're kind of going to probably part ways. And then the people who were willing to were the ones who are maybe more wanting to work with people to have it move forward from love, they're going to keep growing and learning lessons while at different times we were the one who was left behind or stayed behind because we had other lessons to learn. Can we sometimes get back on the same page? Sure. But if we were already more mature, other people were more mature than us, they probably kept learning more lessons. So then they continued to stay several books ahead on the game of life, right? But I think high vibe people always wish other people well. So if other people reach out to them, just like you in turn could to others, I'm glad that you work through whatever that is. But, I do think the relationship that we have now is best, which might be that we don't move forward together. I've kind of went on my journey and I hope you continue on yours, and again, some people could tell you that, you could tell some other people. And then, with some of the people, it's like, I didn't like moving away. And when I did, I might have realized that wasn't my truth. The whole thing is, are people willing, high vibe people, these cards aren't showing themselves because those people work through what made them defensive to looking at life differently. And they've gotten out of their ego and they've done this work within themselves. And then that's why high vibe people don't mind telling other people, you know, what lessons they learned. Because there's no shame in learning lessons. And then on the other hand, there's other people I am never going to admit I made a mistake. And I definitely might not have told the truth. And I definitely might have been defensive. And I definitely might have done all these things. And even when they realize that the path they're headed down maybe isn't going to be good, might not be what really motivates and inspires them, might even be moving forward with shadowy people or people they don't really want to be in a relationship with. But some people are too unwilling to admit they made a mistake. I will keep moving forward with this truth till I die. I was like, okay. And the people who haven't learned to love and believe in themselves and are shadowy and prideful or bossy or control, they're probably going to keep being that way. It is very hard to change. And for any of you who worked through things that you really didn't want to give up, whether that was drinking or being more impulsive or reckless or whatever, um, it's really hard to change. It's hard to change earth energy. It's very hard to budge. It's just like trying to change the world, and in the world, we can all have a certain way of doing things, and other people are like, this might work for you folks, but this really isn't working for me. And I would like things to be different. And then everybody's like, no, we're going to keep doing it this way because it works for us. Well, eventually other people don't like the way things are going either. And slowly over time, things change in the world, right? And then everybody's kind of moved on, or most of the people have kind of moved on from an old way of living life. Which I kind of mentioned recently in a reading that it's kind of interesting how back when Elvis and the Beatles came out, there ended up being all this uproar because that was such different music and they looked like hippies and oh, and the way they danced and the way the kids were acting and behaving. And they wanted Elvis and the Beatles like to be banished. And it's like, oh my gosh, eventually people got over it. And then other people probably started to like Elvis and the Beatles. But it can be very hard. Change is very hard. And some people dislike change more than others. And there are going to be some people in the world who are going to keep moving forward, refusing to change. I don't have to change. It's like, you don't. You just need to find someone to be in a relationship with you who puts up with your stubborn ass, or your controlling ass, or your immature ass, or whatever it is. Some people right now are exchanging resources with people in a workplace or a foundation or a relationship more for how it benefits them. And if it's like an employer, the employers are trying to be loving and encouraging. They have a dream they want to bring into reality. They want employees who want to work together with them. Quit kind of indulging your more immature nature, thinking you can just work here and not put in work and effort in some places, right? And if those people, they don't ever see progress is being made, some of those employers are going to tell those employees, we wish you peace, but we're moving on. We're looking at the people who do seem to be inspired to work here and put in work and effort, and then the opposite way could go. There's some employers who are not good employers or supervisors, and they're being bossy and controlling and kind of full of themselves or egotistical, and they can't understand why other people don't want to stay there. And you can keep staying in denial of the truth all you want, but they're going to keep having people that could come to work there thinking their dreams, and the Three of Wands, like Aquarius, can both be about expecting your dreams to come into reality. Thinking in high vibe is going to be creative and inspired and encouraging and emotionally mature. And then you take the job and then you find out these people aren't who they presented themselves to be. And you don't want to keep moving forward with them. It's like, you know what? I think I'm going to let you move on and I'm going to quit investing in you. And I'm going to go find me a different job. you know and kind of the same thing can happen in relationships. you know the bossy people or the shadowy people, it works for them. They want the people to keep moving forward with them, especially if those people are abundant, stable, grounded, emotionally mature, and loving. Hey, this works for me. And eventually some of the high vibe people are like, you can keep moving forward with whoever and whatever. I'm going to take some time to regroup and I'm going to move forward on my own. And then when some of the high vibe people stand up for themselves and say, I'm moving on, you can do whatever you want to do with whoever you want to do it with. Those people go try to find someone else and they'll probably keep moving forward in whatever way they view life, however they think is just and fair in relationships. And they'll just try to find somebody else to indulge them in a relationship. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy? Probably being loving and nurturing and encouraging to people in your life, having some other people in your life who are being loving and encouraging, and if you don't, you're looking to the true boss of the world, high vibe energy at large, or the big picture represented by God, to give you hope and faith as you keep moving forward. But What's coming up for the high vibe people? We have the Ten of Wands, the Queen of Swords, the World card. And the reason is because of the Ten of Pentacles. The high vibe people put in work and effort. The tens, again, could talk about closing out a cycle. And from the Ten of Pentacles, then we come out with the Queen of Pentacles. So people could detach from certain jobs, friendships, or relationships, or just become more independent of some people in their life. But they're having a new beginning, taking action in their truth to not keep moving forward with things or people where they don't feel maybe like they're working together with them in a more just, fair, balanced, or loving way. And if they offered to some people and those people are like, nope, I'm doing this, they're done investing in those people. I accept that you want to invest in someone else or do something else. So I accept the truth and I'm going to move forward. So, because high vibe people wanted to close out a cycle in the Queen of Swords, Aquarius, they have a dream. And their dream can only come into reality with other people who are motivated and inspired by that same truth and that same dream. And though it can feel overwhelming in the Ten of Wands, the Ten of Wands is Sagittarius energy, which is about higher learning and education. I have my dream and I'm not willing to give up my dream. And in high vibe, you are offering people truth and love to work together with you in a just and fair way. And for some people, though, they don't want to do that because they don't want to be just and fair, or they don't want to be more authentic and loving. I might have decided shadowy masculine cards can just mean male or female. People are operating more from their egoic nature, which can just be defensiveness. I'm defensive to being more emotionally invested in people. I could get hurt. So I don't emotionally invest more in people. It's kind of like using their emotions, their sexuality, their money, their power, whatever, all their charm, their words, all in a more manipulative way. But I don't really want to detach from my more worldly, egoic, or self protective nature to really emotionally invest in bringing a dream into reality from truth and love. And so they'll kind of keep moving forward, operating in their from their more worldly perspective of life. It won't have what they could have had if they move forward with people in a relationship like that. But in order to move forward in a relationship with people who are more high vibe, they would have to see the truth and detach. And they could already know that some people already saw the truth of them, that that's not their truth. And so those people in turn kind of they wouldn't be able to manipulate them because the other people have already been in relationships with people who are like that. No longer caught, high vibe energy is no longer caught up in the illusion. I've already learned the truth from these other life experiences I've went on. And if some people right now feel they're in a relationship with someone where they're not telling the truth, some of those people are going to move on and call judgment on these people. I don't care how much power, influence, attractiveness, charming, how much I like you. If you're not going to move forward with me and be more authentic and work together with me from love, then you can go be in your relationship with someone else. Because what you're going to manifest isn't aligned with my truth. So, high vibe people closed out a cycle. The Ten of Wands is closing out a cycle. The Queen of Swords means you already closed out the Ten of Swords. And here we have the Ten of Pentacles. You are moving forward, believing in your dreams, detaching from an old foundational way of viewing life where you could have previously put in a lot of work and effort in a foundation to try to bring a dream into reality. But you saw the dream wasn't ever going to come into reality because the other people harness their Sagittarius, their Aquarius, and their Virgo energy differently. They wanted to keep moving forward the way it was. This is my truth. I don't want to close out this cycle. I want to keep moving forward just like this. I was like, I can't do it. So you could have felt hurt. They could have felt hurt. But you're going to have a new beginning. And I just realized, I mean, Aquarius is like the water bearer, but there's no cups on the table. No emotional water sign energies on the table. That's why you could have felt left out in the cold. It's not, the foundation isn't operating from a foundation of love. You, within yourself, could have been the one trying to offer as the water bearer, trying to bring this stability and abundance and creativity and inspiration of hope and faith and belief into it. And the other people were like, we don't do that. It's like, okay, I wish you peace. And you're going to have a new inspired beginning, uh, a new beginning in your truth, closing out an old cycle. You get to advance, you completed a cycle. You learned the lesson you were meant to learn. You got clear about your truth. You healed. In the process, you kind of had to really do some work to figure out appreciating yourself and what you brought to the table, what other people brought to the table, what your truth was, what their truth was, what your dream was, what their dream was. And you realized it was different. So you're going to have a new video. You're going to the next level of the video game of life. And when you do that, the other people are going to call judgment on you, and they're going to go repeat this old pattern with someone else. What's coming up for the people who... Oh, and as you do this, there's going to be some people, needless people, see you moving forward. You're not repeating an old pattern. You're closing out a cycle and moving forward. Other people know you could go repeat an old pattern. You could go get in a friendship, relationship, or some job, not believing in yourself, willing to go through that period of feeling left in the cold. But because you invest in yourself, you end up, over the course of this, feeling very stable and abundant within yourself. Or you will if you're in the process of it. And as other people in the world see that you're doing that and you're not repeating some old patterns, there could be some other people who come towards you, and you, as you move forward, meet other people that have went through similar situations. And those people will decide that you are someone they want to be in a relationship with, because in High Vibe Emperor, you have learned all these lessons in the four suits of the deck. At one time in your life, you could let your heart run your life. Another time, you could let your mind and your defensive nature, your fear run your life. At another time, you could let your more worldly nature, your more passionate nature run your life. And now you've learned that all four aspects are equally important. And you want to be in relationships with other people who know that. And our inner child, kind of hopeful, believing nature is important. And some people buried that a long time ago. And so they're moving forward without, and they could reject their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. It's like, nope, it's going to be more about me from now on, or it's going to be more about the status or the ego or the image or something. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? In our pride and ego, we can think we're so smart, but it can be because we don't want to see the truth, or we just haven't learned to invest in ourselves and know our own worth and value. So that's when we go look to other people in the world to play that role in our life. But the thing is, when we don't know our worth and value, there can be other people in the world who harness this energy in a shadowy way that are looking for someone like that, for how it more benefits them. And until you learn your worth and value, they'll enjoy being in the relationship with you. And, they could be loving and nurturing and supportive to a degree, but it could just be more about how it benefits them. And later, you'll find that out. And that it really wasn't love, it was just more for how it benefited them. The Six of Cups, the Eight of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, the Nine of Wands, the Seven of Cups, the Ace of Cups, and the High Priestess. And the reason is because of the Six of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. The more worldly, shadowy people harness a more shadowy Six of Cups Scorpio energy, which can be, I keep my more hopeful, believing, loving nature buried beneath the surface. We're emotionally complex people. We're confusing, causes mental conflict. And so some people decide that's it. It's confusing in my Scorpio energy to get to know myself emotionally, work through all my confusing emotions. I'm done. I'm going to walk away from that, hide that I really don't want to do more deep, meaningful relationships, that I've decided I want to repeat a pattern of the past. I'm sure I'll be happy, which can be more about just indulging themselves in a relationship, continuing to invest in being defensive, trying to confuse other people about the truth of who they are, hoping some people who harness high vibe Pisces and Cancer, and the Ace of Cups can be all three of the water signs, hoping that some people, if they present themselves as being someone who is more emotionally mature, independent, motivated and inspired by love, that some loving people will get in a relationship with them. And they probably have someone now in a relationship with them, if nothing else, friends and family. And those people are offering them love and encouragement for them to kind of walk away from their defensiveness. And they're like, they defend this certain way of living life and viewing life. And because of that, they're probably going to have some high vibe people in their life that are like, I wish you peace. But the Seven of Cups plus the One Cup is the Eight of Cups, which is walking away. So some people who've been in relationships and friendships with them, because the same thing keeps happening over and over, they never give birth to anything new because they don't change. And again, they may have no interest in changing. So then some of the people in their life, wish them peace and love, but I'm not going to keep investing in an illusion that it's love when it's not love. And I'm going to invest in standing up for myself and my loving nature to you. And I'm going to walk away, listen to my intuition, and go invest in people who I think are more motivated and inspired to work together more cooperatively in a more balanced, loving way. And, because the shadowy people, they have things that manipulate them and cause them mental conflict, but they're never willing to detach because either they're afraid people in their life will turn their back on them. And if they can't get those people to move forward with them, they're not going to move forward differently. And again, whether that's friends or family members, or there's really maybe, I don't know, I think shadowy, they just think, oh, because I look a certain way, act a certain way, present myself a certain way, have a certain status or image in the world, I'll just go find someone else to get in a relationship with. And it's like, I'll just stay in the relationship with them for as long as it lasts. And then if those people ever look at life from a higher perspective or want it to be a more deep, meaningful relationship, it's like, sorry, this relationship is over. And then they'll go find someone else. Some people do not want to do more deep, meaningful relationships. Some people don't want to be more independent. Some people don't want to quit making their life more about themselves, the things, the world that they indulge in to feel better, or making their life just being more consumed and out of balance with the ego and the image or the money or the materialism. And they keep thinking that will make them happy. And so then eventually they'll end up, they probably already have people in their life that they're aligned with that kind of view life that way too. And they'll probably keep moving forward with people like that, having other people come in their life that are like that. And it's kind of more to defend the illusion that it's love, hiding that they're just repeating an old pattern over and over and over because of what they make their life about. And it can be because they don't want to see the truth. And even though it could cause them mental conflict, even though they could kind of feel left out in the cold, they don't want to offer love either to themselves or whatever these things are that at what point in their life they gave up on kind of believing in themselves or believing in their dreams or believing in love. And until they do that, they're going to keep repeating this pattern. Other people can offer them, and they probably have had people throughout their life that have offered them love and encouragement and support. But some people think, well, that is what people should do. That is what I think is just and fair. But they don't, when people are loving and encouraging and supportive of them, that's creating a stable environment for them maybe to work through some of these issues. But they don't want to work through them. I have no interest in changing. I'm good. I just need to keep finding someone who'll keep being loving and encouraging to me, and I don't want to play that role within myself. And some people, it's kind of this codependent energy that, or an entitled energy. I don't have to do that. That takes like work and effort. And I'd have to deal with the truth about myself or some other things in my life or people in my life or see the truth of how I'm so caught up in the world or my fear or my ego or my lust or my greed or my immaturity. And I don't want to see the truth of any of it. And they have the free will to do that. It's just that more high vibrational people will leave their life and they might get themselves in relationships, that are more like them, and they could even be kind of defensive to staying in a relationship with those people who would like to move away. But because of the status or the ego or the image or the codependency, and they're in relationships with people who don't require them to heal or grow or mature themselves or temper their ego, I think I'll stay. This is good enough. I'll just create the illusion I love them, and they'll create the illusion they love me. And none of us will really be more independent or more authentic and grow to our full potential, emotionally anyway, because we stay stunted, kind of, I would say, emotionally. And the other people have true abundance in their life because they have a balance. Some people are willing to say, when's enough enough? Could I work 1,000 hours? Yeah, and have all this money and status and image and work 55 jobs if I wanted? Sure, if that was the most important thing in my life. But it's not. High vibe Virgo and Ten of Pentacles is, and just high vibe energy in general is, I want balance. Am I willing to put in work and effort to have some stability and security in my life? Yes. And I want to work with other people who do that. But I also want to be in relationships with people who are just and fair and loving and encouraging. And the people I do work with, if I'm going to keep staying at that job, I would like, if I'm going to spend 8 hours a day with them, I'm going to try to get along with them. If they try to get along with me, well, I'll move forward. If not, I'm going to go look for a different job. I'm going to listen to my intuition and it tells me you should leave. I'll leave. And if I'm in one right now, which I think some high vibe people are going to get one if they're not in one, because they did listen to their intuition. And I think you're going to look like your dreams came into reality. And you're going to look very stable and abundant because you didn't take action more out of fear, insecurity, pride, ego, and codependency. And other people are going to see that other people are keep repeating an old pattern. Nothing changes, which is fine. They can do that. But it's just that, some people might try to create the illusion about who you were and who they were. But as kind of time goes by, the people who are willing to kind of, and again, who really cares what people think? That's what high vibe people said too. The world's going to think what the world wants to think. The people who are going to think the worst of me are going to think the worst of me. And the people who are a little more balanced might kind of see that some of the people they invested in, because who knows, maybe they didn't tell the truth. And so people are like, oh, you poor person, you were left out in the cold. And then as they see them continue to live their life, it's like, wait a minute. I don't think you were telling the truth. I think you maybe are more shadowy than you let on. And I kind of think that's maybe why those people left. Because those people seem to be doing just fine or even better in their life than when they were in a relationship with you. And shadowy people and shadowy energy can be people who are trying to oppress you, confine you, restrict you, control you. And now that you're able to live your more authentic life, you bloom. And people see them repeating the same old pattern just with someone else. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.